You ready to beat your bookmaker? Well, then it's time to follow the model. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Follow the Model podcast. We were off for a couple weeks, We had Christmas, we had New Year's. Even though we don't celebrate Christmas, we still took a little time off. Not the model. Model killed it in week 17, 4-2 record. Took week 18 off. There's just a little too much unpredictability. On the season, though, model positive, both by record and by units. 47 and 44, plus 13 units overall. Gates, we got him on the line. The architect, as always. What do you got to say about this past season?
Well, the architect, also now a national champion, just brought home the title back from Houston, the Michigan Wolverines, go blue. What a title and what a bunch of juju and momentum we're bringing into this playoff run. It was a pretty good season. As you said, we were up in units, up in record, not quite as profitable as some other seasons. And we're going to give you a little bit of insight in terms of why. There were 4 teams that we took: the Jets, the Giants, the Falcons, and the Skins. Across the season, the model went 2-18 combined with those 4 teams, down 27 units. So you remove those from the picture and just think about how profitable the model will be. Now, while you might Monday morning quarterback this and say, who really cares? You could go in and do an analysis a whole lot of ways. The great news for us is that all those teams are not in the playoffs. So if you just think about it that way, hopefully we got those teams out of our way, got the blinders on, and now we're ready to lock in for the playoff run.
I love it. I think I was the one that brought that for you to do that research, because every week I'm looking at the Jets, the Giants, Commanders, and it's like, come on already. Just toss them aside. But now the schedule, the playoffs, is forcing you to toss them aside, and the model is locked in on the other 20-some-odd teams. And so let's jump right into wild card weekend. We got games Saturday. We got games Sunday. We got a standalone game Monday night. And we're going to start on Saturday. Houston Texans go from the number 2 overall pick. They draft CJ Stroud, and that turns around the franchise. The Stroud boys out in full effect. You're taking them +2, getting 2 points, headed to Cleveland, the dog pound, to take on the elite Joe Flacco.
You gotta like the Stroud boys, man. I mean, he's hot. And I think the most importantly, the Texans defense has really risen to the occasion these last 2 weeks. And that was the biggest gap that we saw for a long period of time. Now, a lot of that is because they had some guys out. They still are missing their safety, Jimmy Ward. He won't be in. They're missing one of their corners, Tevier Thomas. Big losses. But the defense the last couple of weeks really, really stepped it up. Hopefully they take that momentum into this week. They're at home, and they're getting a couple. And there's a couple injuries to watch for the Browns in their secondary. Denzel Ward went down in practice today. He's questionable. And then the safety, Juan Thornhill, is questionable as well. So, a late questionable is not what you want to see getting injured in practice 2 days before the game if you're on the Browns side. So that can definitely tilt it in our favor. Love taking a home dog here in the first game. We clearly have the better quarterback in CJ Stroud, right? So, and we know that crowd's going to be loud. They're going to be proud. They're going to be Stroud for their first playoff game in a few years after the Deshaun Watson era. So all the momentum on their side, especially with Deshaun going to the other team. Don't forget about that one. Got to figure the Juju's on their side as well. And yeah, we like the Texans to this one, getting the points.
Love it. And speaking of that stadium, the energy at NRG, having just been there for that Michigan national championship. And speaking of the Go Blue boys, we got Nico Collins also on that Houston side. He had a huge season, a huge week 18, and he looks primed for a playoff breakout. Moving to the second Saturday game, it's the team that's in a funk. Is it Taylor Swift? I don't know. Who is it? What's going on with these Kansas City Chiefs? They were very profitable for the model and for you early in the season. That did tail off as their season kind of hit the rails down the stretch. They're giving 4.5, minus 4.5. They're at home taking on the Dolphins, who choked away the AFC East on the last week of the season.
Yeah, Chiefs are going to, they're not doing great, but I would argue Miami's in a much, much worse tailspin. And the key reason is injuries. We got some boys over there at the CDPL, chase down payment lock of the week, some Finns fans over there. We feel bad for them because their season was just ruined by injuries. They already had two of their key defenders out for the season. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb goes down. Now their linebacker who just came back, Jerome Baker's out again. Xavier Howard, the corner, is out. They just lost another one of their best DNs, and Andrew Van Ginkel. The injuries just keep piling up. They've already lost their center. So it's just not good right now. Waddle, we think, will come back. They have a few more questionables, but just on the defensive side of the ball, those injuries are just stacking so high. And then they got to travel to Kansas City here. The temperature is going to be insanely low, like record low in terms of wind chill. I just saw online that they're offering playoff tickets in Kansas City for $50 a pop because people don't even want to go to this game. It's going to be that insane. That's got to favor the Chiefs. I mean, the Dolphins with their offense being in Miami, they're just not ready for this. They're not going to be ready for this. And at this point, because of the health, we're banking on the Chiefs defense over the Dolphins defense more than anything, right? So we'll wait it out to make sure, see what the questionables are. There's a chance that all the Miami guys we think are going to end up playing. That drives the line down to 4, potentially 3.5. So we'll wait a little bit to see if this goes down. I don't see the Miami offense doing much in that kind of weather in Kansas City.
Totally see that. I mean, Miami in January in the freezing cold. Yeah, I mean, count me in on Kansas City just for that fact alone, right? We've seen it time in, time out with these warm weather teams. And yeah, let's not.
Yeah, and the Chiefs get back one of their tackles who's been out for a few weeks. So that's always going to be a plus. The running game's been pretty strong for the Chiefs, right? It's really been the pass game, which is obviously shocking with Mahomes. But you got to figure, they got to just put up like 14, 17 points. I don't think it's going to have to be a big number. I think clearly, there's a good chance this goes under because of the wind and the freezing temperatures. So that's kind of how we're looking at this one.
Yeah, makes sense. Chiefs get reinforcements plus the weather, and that favors the home team. Moving on, the team that did win the AFC East from 6-6, rallied off 5 in a row. They're getting hot at the right time, and that's what's most important in playoff football, right? It's when you're playing your best football, and they're playing their best football right now, and that's the Buffalo Bills, because nobody circles the wagons like those Buffalo Bills. -9.5 at home versus the TJ Watt-less Pittsburgh Steelers.
You nailed it right there. The TJ Watt-less Pittsburgh Steelers. The model is very, very low on this Steeler team. Right now, we have them as the 26th ranked team in the model, a team that just made the playoffs, right? So this is pretty much about a fade for them as much as it is a positive on Buffalo. We do have Buffalo as the number 4 team in the model, so 4 versus 26. Quite a big gap. Makes sense why the spread is where it's at, especially with the loss of TJ Watt, which is gigantic. I think, there's some stats out there that without him, they basically can't win a game.
One in something over the last 2 years, yeah.
Right. So, getting under 10, going against Mason Rudolph, we are not scared of him, to say the least. Now, there's a couple things we do want to watch, though, as in all these games, right? Obviously, the injuries. Bills have some guys that are banged up. Their corner, Rasul Douglas, who's been playing phenomenal since they got him from the Packers. He's been banged up. A couple other guys got banged up as well. But the even bigger thing to watch is because of the temperatures and this storm coming in this weekend, there's a chance this game doesn't get played in Buffalo. So they're talking about this game moving locations, and that's why I think that the spread might even go down more than where it's at right now. I would wait on that to see where that ends up going, right? I mean, obviously it's going to make a huge difference if they're at home in Buffalo in those temperatures versus at some, neutral location. So let's wait and see how that all shapes out.
Yeah, and you could wait on that. That's a Sunday game, not one of the Saturday games. So you got a couple days to figure out what's going on there. Keep a close eye on the Follow the Model Substack, on the Follow the Model Twitter or X, and we'll keep you updated on what that play looks like and where that line moves to. Moving on from the AFC East to the NFC East. And how about them Cowboys? Yeah, they did it. I mean, it took an Eagles epic choke job, completely forgetting how to play football over the last month of the season. But the Cowboys did win the division, and their reward is a home game against the Green Bay Packers, Cowboys -7.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys, especially these last few weeks, haven't been super impressive, right, against the Lions and the Dolphins, but those are some pretty good teams, and they still got the wins. The Lions one extremely questionable, obviously, but the big thing here is everyone said it. The Cowboys home versus road, it's just completely different splits, right? And you're getting the Cowboys at home here. You know what pains us here at Model HQ. We hate the Cowboys, least favorite team in the league. They're soft. I think this is the only game they win. Probably going to get upset in round two, but we think they do come across with the W here. There's a chance this line even goes lower. I think it started at 7.5. I think because of the way the Packers have been playing with Jordan Love the last couple of weeks, I've got a sneaking suspicion that a lot of people are going to be on the Packers as a live dog here. So let's wait and see if this can even get down to 6.5. Obviously, always wait for the injuries. So that's kind of how we're thinking about this one. And just a general note on a couple of those big favorites, since we just talked about the Bills and Packers, laying a touchdown or more. I think the important thing here is over the last couple of seasons, I know that the spread has kind of been not critical to the outcome, right? Like, so just whoever wins the game, they either cover the spread or they were a dog and they didn't need the points anyway. So I think in some crazy high percentage over the last couple of years in the playoffs. So just something to think about. And that's why, we're not too worried, even with, what would be considered a bigger spread in a couple of those matchups.
Yeah, and also with that matchup, something to remember, the start of a couple of revenge games, and that's Mike McCarthy playing his old team in Green Bay, and we'll see if the coach has a few tricks up his sleeve to take care of his old boss in Green Bay. So moving on, we got another one of those revenge games, and that's Matt Stafford versus Jared Goff. The two quarterbacks that were traded for one another are now playing each other in the playoffs. The Rams, another team, hot at the right time of the season, right? They finished really strong. They're +3 going to Detroit to take on the NFC North. Yes, the NFC North champion, Detroit Lions.
The Lions got to be feeling great. What a season. I think it's tied their most wins ever in a season. Got to feel good for those guys. This is not the matchup they wanted, though. They got to be disappointed that they're seeing the Rams and obviously Matt Stafford in round one. And more important than anything, Sean McVay, we got to think he knows Jared Goff's weaknesses inside and out. You got to think that's going to help them here in terms of designing a game plan on how to stop this Lions team. And the way the Rams have been playing, I think these teams are extremely, extremely even. We have the Rams as a better team, but with the home field advantage, obviously, we would give like 1 to the Lions. So getting 3, we're seeing some value there. Not a ton of value, but when you're getting a field goal in a game, I think it's going to be really close. Got to like those odds. I've said it a couple times. I think the Rams are the best long shot odds. The odds have gone down, but whether you want to take them NFC or Super Bowl, this defense is really locked in. It's a young defensive core, and the offense can be explosive, so especially if they can play in some of these domes, if they go to Dallas or Detroit or whatever ends up happening. So, yeah, I like this Rams team a lot. Let's see if they can get a run going here.
Yeah, that offense really bounced back this season with Matt Stafford. Just shows the level of genius between him and McVay and how they're able to basically run it as they were a few years ago when they were the talk of the town. Mike McDaniel stole that thunder a little bit this season, but the Rams showing they still got it on that side of the ball. And Aaron Donald, come on, guy's a legend, right? Hall of Famer. So.
Yeah, Aaron, exactly. And they're fully healthy too, which always, that's a big one for us here, right? I mean, they have like no injuries, which is great for them. And then, we don't really take running backs too seriously here at Model HQ, but Kerryon Williams has been a freak show. And when I think there's some of those stats when him, Cooper Kupp, Puka, they're all healthy, they win their games. So that's definitely a big one as well.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. The weapons there are fully healthy. It was great to see Puka set those rookie receiving records, most receiving yards, most receptions in a season. He set that in week 18 when all the regulars sat. McVay still played him to make sure he got those records, which was cool to see. And he came out of that game healthy as well, most importantly. Final game, Monday Night Football. And that's the team no one knows what to do with, but the model's going to stick with them. Fly, Eagles, fly. They're, 1-5? 1-4 over the last however many games? They just got barged by the New York Giants. I mean, I didn't even think that was possible in a game that Jalen Hurts started. They played most of their regulars for the whole first half, down 24-0. It was eye-opening, to say the least. And yeah, the Eagles are still -3 going to Tampa Bay to take on Baker and the boys.
Yeah, pretty inexplicable. I don't know what's going on with this team. I was with some Eagles fans down in Houston and was chatting with them about it, trying to figure out what's going on. Nobody knows. No one has the answers. No one knows how this team has fallen so far so fast. But we still think with all of the talent they have there, they're going to get it together and they're going to get a win on the road at Tampa Bay. We're just not scared of this Tampa Bay team. We're just not scared of him. Baker seems banged up. He had a very good season for him, but these last 2 to 3 games really did nothing. I mean, against the Saints, they got blanked at home. And then the Panthers, very uninspiring. They couldn't get anything going. They won that game because of their defense. So the Eagles, I think, they're being overlooked right now with good reason, but I think people are too high on the Bucs. So that's how we're seeing this one. We're seeing a lot of value. It makes me very nervous, but let's go. Let's fade Baker in the playoffs. We think they can get it done.
Yeah, I hear that. And I assume that a lot of people will be scared to take the Eagles, right? Just because of how they've been playing. So, the model says, hey, we're going to stick to the numbers. We're going to stick to the model, and we're going to place our bets that way. We're not going to get emotional about it. And that's why we're going to go in on Philly. And there you have it. That's the 6 games for Wild Card Weekend plus Monday. And Gates, anything else you want to touch on?
That's really it. I think, we've said this a few times. The odds are nowhere near as good as they were a few weeks ago, but Rams and Texans, the big long shots, we think that can make a run. Obviously not likely, but that's why you place a long shot bet. And then, just going back to who does the model have right now? It's got Baltimore and San Francisco, not surprisingly, clearly at the top, neck and neck there for the top of the model. And then a decent drop-off where we got, Buffalo, Dallas, and Philly still up there just because of the talent that they have. So that's really kind of the cutoff before everybody else. Can't wait for the playoffs. We're excited. We really like these games. We're locked into these games for this weekend, and I think we got a good line on all of them. So I'm excited.
Love it. Coming off of a national championship, Gates is locked in, and the NFL playoffs are starting. We got a month of great football ahead of us. This was the Follow the Model podcast. Make sure to follow that model this playoffs. If you want to take a trip anywhere after the NFL season, you want to take care of your girl, let's go. You got to follow the model. And that's what we're going to do. We're signing off.